when you took over the squad, did you kind of, I don't know, redefine how you wanted the set pieces defended, or is this just bad luck, or what is going on?
To be honest, it was poor marking, pretty straightforward. Everybody was kind of assigned their guys. One player lets someone go, and the delivery is correct, and they find the free player, if you like. And it's probably targeted on their part, but it's if everyone on our end does their job, then there's not an issue. In general, I think after that, we handled a lot of set pieces against Miami, like a large number of set pieces coming in, and we defended them pretty strongly. Crosses coming in the box was a point of focus ahead of the Miami game based on what we saw against Orlando. So I'm glad that we managed to rectify that, and then we get another chance to show that we've learned from our mistakes when we play Orlando tomorrow, if they get any set pieces. Hopefully they don't get too many.
Hey, Steven. Felipe here. How are you today?
Good, Felipe. Thanks. How's it going?
I'm doing well, thank you. What do you take away, not just as interim manager, you were able to work a lot closer with Pete Martinez? What do you take away just from being around, being with him, being able to see him around the club, and how have you prepared for this match tomorrow without him?
You said Pity. Yeah, someone's microphone's on, I think. Is that?
Yes. Yeah, just what do you take away from working with Pete Martinez, not just as the interim coach, but I mean, clearly you saw him train, you saw him around the club, you're very familiar with him, with his personality as well. What do you take away, and then how are you preparing without him for tomorrow's match?
Right, yeah. Well, we ended up having to tackle the game without him, firstly on Wednesday night anyway, so we knew what we were coming into now, that it's almost certainly done, it seems. So he's still around at the moment. He's still here, but he's not part of things for tomorrow. It's just a different preparation when you've got one player less, and I think it's something we've had to tackle as a club all year. You're losing Joseph, so you lose one of your DPs, and then eventually, at the moment, we're going to lose Pity as well. So it gives other people, to me, if I'm one of the guys, it gives me an opportunity to show that I should be a big personality within the group and a big player as well. So although it is a loss, there's no doubt losing a player of that talent, and still including Joseph. You lose guys like that, any team loses their two top people, it's going to be an issue. But the challenge is for the group, the challenge is for the staff, and we prepare. Probably the good thing is we managed to get Ezekiel back at a similar time that Pity's leaving. So we're not minus the two of them at the same time, which would have been obviously a greater loss.
Wes, I wanted to ask you, I meant to ask you this after the match the other night. You mentioned Ezekiel, and coming off, he seemed pretty upset. He was arguing with somebody. I don't know who. Did you have a chance to talk to him afterwards and explain why you had to take him out at that time?
Yeah, before, during, and after. So it's not something I was aware of at the time, but people have told me about it. So it wasn't aimed in my direction, I don't believe. But the one thing is, we don't want guys that want to come off the pitch anyway, and I think it just shows his hunger to be in there for 90 minutes at a time. But we've got a duty to protect him as well, almost from himself. He's still young. He is a top player. He's going to get even better. But he won't do that if he's injured. So it's important that he's got his length of time. We can use him on a given game so that we make the most of that. We probably even stretch it a little bit. So to try and keep a player like that on the pitch as long as we can. But the biggest, most important thing is his long-term availability. And if we look after him properly, that is going to be the case with how we've looked after him. And he understands it. He come and spoke in the locker room to some of the staff afterwards. That he knows it's not really the way to go, but we understand it. We're all in it together, and we all want to win.
Hey, Glassy, there was something that you said after the match on Wednesday that I kind of wanted to follow up on, which is that, you know, when it comes to training these passages of play and trying to get the team more fluent in the final third, it's hard to do that because you're not training at full speed, and it's one of those things where you can only really get better at that when you're doing it at full speed. So what do you do? Like, on a day like today is probably your only real day of training and match prep. Is there anything you can do?
Well, I'd go back to the game before the Orlando game. So I'm saying it's limited training. It's limited doing it against opposition. But you can show them particular movements, and you can do it at game speed. There's just a limited number of times you can actually do it. Otherwise, you either go through at half pace and don't really get the full feel of it, or you go through full pace and you do less of them. So the day before the Orlando game, we did 3-4 very specific movements, and we saw some of them coming out, but just not often enough. Today is more a case, the turnaround is shorter from the Wednesday to the Saturday. So it is a case of actually literally just walking through it today. In these positions, this is the options we'll look at. If we move them in a certain way, this becomes available option 1, 2, 3. Plus, you're good footballers. If you see something else, go ahead and do it. But just actually putting pictures in their head. And I think because of the physicality in the game on Wednesday night, and then obviously what's coming tomorrow, there's a more limited period this 2 days than there was leading into the Orlando game. But they've got ideas in their head because of the Orlando game as well. The Miami game.
Hey, Coach. One question. I know you're obviously a seasoned professional, but I think players, broadcasters, anything, we're always learning. Now that you're officially like a month plus in, is there anything that surprised you or stood out to you, or that you've changed up personally now that you're a month plus into managing the first team?
Not hugely. I think it's a different quality of player we're looking after. And it's the heaviest schedule that the club's been in for a long time as well. In the strangest situation where, again, no pre-season. Even if we had the Orlando tournament as a staff, we would have had a chance to put ideas in the players' heads that we would like to be in their heads. I just think probably the biggest learning curve has been learning actually more individually the players, their mentalities, their traits, what they respond to, if you like. So and that's probably been the biggest learning curve, is each individual and what makes them tick. And I think this next 3 games as well is going to be important, because we're going to get to see them on the road now, which I'm looking forward to, because I think teams have come to the Bends, maybe seen it as the best opportunity to get at us. No fans in the building. We're not in a great moment right now. But I think away from home, there might be a slight more freedom about the players in terms of risk-taking, and again, an opportunity for us to almost feel like a home team in an away venue.
Coach, I think I asked you this Monday, or maybe it was last week. I can't remember. Have you been given any sense from the league about what's coming next for this schedule to help you kind of prepare load management and things, which I know has been a focus?
Yeah, no, we haven't. We haven't at all. Nothing. But I do think that it'll be, our last game's Nashville on the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I think it will be the following weekend is when the next round of games would start. That's my understanding. But I don't know what it looks like. I don't know how many, Doug. I don't know if it's going to be every Saturday, Wednesday. So in terms of load management, it's near impossible for us at the moment. The only thing we can do is make sure that we are looking after them in the meantime through this heavy bulk of games. I think there's 5 and 15 days, which is quite heavy when it's your first workload of the season.
Lassie, you mentioned that it's not the greatest moment right now that the team is in. Has there been a focus on just trying to keep morale up at this time, to try to keep the energy going when you've got all these matches coming back to back to back?
We've not had to work too hard on that, to be honest, because I think the morale in the group is pretty good. I think they can, the players can see how much work the staff are doing, how much prep's going in. We as a staff can see how driven the players are to try and make these things work. Sorry, it's light here. We can see how driven the players are to make these things work as well. So we're seeing moments within the games that it's coming. And I do think that the game the other night, there was a passage of play towards the end. We were under pressure pretty severe towards the end. But you saw resilience in the group, that if they don't believe in the things that we're doing and what we're working on, and that there is a morale within the group, I think any team under that sort of pressure would have had a real look at getting beat the other night. But there's a resolve within the group that I think is going to carry us a long way. And I'm looking forward to building on it.
We'll take a couple more. We have George joining us at 1:45. Sydney, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to kind of tag off Joe's question. Hearing from the players afterwards, there's a lot of frustration. What if those conversations been like on the training ground, and even in the locker room afterwards.
I don't know what you mean by frustration. What are they frustrated at, Sydney? I didn't really.
Well, you mentioned like the club, is kind of in a bad way right now. But I mean, what have the conversations been like over the past few days leading into the Miami match? I guess is my question.
Yeah, the conversations leading into the Orlando match is basically we've got a chance to go and right a few wrongs that happened when they came to play us here. I don't think we dwell on the fact that we're in a tough spell. We know we're in a tough spell, but there's a group of people that can fix it, and it's the staff and it's the players. So there's no people looking for excuses. We know it's going to be hard work. We know there's a lot of things to work on, but we've identified the areas that we feel we can make better as quick as possible. And I think as the bulk of games keep coming, I think it will come together. But we totally understand. You had Guzan earlier before the first batch of games. We know it's not going to be perfect by any means, but you do see a group that's working towards making things better, and that's the important thing.
Felipe, go ahead, and then Doug, you can finish up.
Thank you. Stephen, you mentioned just the morale, and the players after the game are responding to that as well. They've said that it's a happy group, but these are things that happen in football. Change is constant in a lot of big markets. This is a young team, a young club. However, how have you seen, just both internally from your staff, from the employees, and from the players, how are they handling this? There's a lot of change that has gone on at the club in the last few months. How are they handling that part of the business?
Yeah, as far as I can see, handling it pretty well. Everybody would like results to happen instantly, but we all know that's not always the reality. I think in terms of managing the personalities and the change, I think everything that's going on in the world this year has probably made it easier for people to adapt to change, because people's lives have been flipped upside down this year anyway. So in terms of a different coach and a different manager coming in, a lot of times, I've been a player myself, it's a different guy that's giving you a different set of ideas, and you try and make them work. Normally there's a group of players that wish the last manager never went, happy to see the new one come in, and the group dynamic just alters somehow. I feel like this group is responding well, and that's really what I'm focused on just now.
Hey, Coach, there are going to be some people in the stands on Saturday. Orlando has sold a certain number of tickets. I know it's a road game, but is it going to be nice, I guess, to hear some sort of noise, authentic noise in the stadium?
Yeah, I think you grow up playing football wanting to play in front of crowds. So now the fact that some of them are starting to come back in certain markets is good. And I think there's nothing better than going to play a game and silencing the home fans in an away venue. It's one of the best feelings you get as a footballer. So I think as a motivational tool, I think that's something that if our guys have got that in about them, that they want to change that and they want to change the result from last week. I think it's good that there's going to be fans in there this week for us.
Awesome. Well, that'll do it for Glassy. Thank you, Coach.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thank you.